Welcome back my YouTube channel Old Coin Zee Collection, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an exciting coin journey. Today, we have an incredibly special coin to talk about, the coin 1945, South Lincoln Wheat Center. A coin with a backstory, a mystery, and an astounding value of $3.5 million. That's right, $3.5 million. And I'll tell you exactly why it's worth that jaw-dropping figure. So, grab your magnifying glass, because this is going to be an exciting ride. Let's rewind to the early 1900s. In 1909, the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln Wheat Cent, which quickly became one of the most iconic coins in American numismatic history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse front featured the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The reverse, though, is what made it stand out, the ears of wheat on either side of the coin's denomination, symbolizing the agricultural strength of the nation. Over the years, this design was produced in millions, and in 1945, the final years of the war, it was still circulating. But what makes the 1945's edition of the Wheat Cent so special, and how did it become worth $3.5 million? Well, let's talk about that. By 1945, World War II was coming to an end, and the United States Mint had to ramp up production of coins for circulation. The San Francisco Mint, which produced the 1945 South Wheat Center, had already been known for some interesting minting quirks in the past, but 1945 was different. In 1945, there was a significant shortage of copper due to the war, and that caused the mint to experiment with different materials. Most of the 1945's wheat cents were produced with a mix of copper and tin, just like the typical cents from that era. But here's the catch: the 1945 South Wheat Center with an extremely rare error occurred in a very small batch during production. Not all 1945's wheat cents are worth a fortune, but this particular coin holds an immense value because of a very rare minting error. It's called the 1945's Double Die Obverse error, and it involves a misalignment in the die during the minting process, resulting in a coin that features an overlaid double image of Abraham Lincoln's profile. This subtle but fascinating error was caused when the die was struck twice, with slightly misaligned impressions. This caused the doubled image to appear in various parts of Lincoln's portrait, especially noticeable around his beard and hairline. It's a slight yet significant detail that collectors absolutely love. And while this error coin was initially dismissed by many collectors as a simple mistake, it wasn't long before savvy collectors started noticing the unusual quality of this coin. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Due to the rarity of the 1945's Double Die Obverse error, the value of these coins skyrocketed in recent years. Experts have estimated that there are only a handful of these error coins in existence, some say less than 10 in fact, in 2018. A 1945's Double Die Obverse Wheat Cent in mint condition sold for over $3.5 million at a major auction. That's a massive increase in value from the coin's face value of just 1 cent. But what makes this so special isn't just the money, it's the rarity and the history behind it. The story of how this coin went from being an overlooked mistake to becoming a true treasure is a perfect example of how rare coins can make history. So, how do you know if you've got one of these million-dollar coins? It's not as easy as just looking for a mint mark or checking the year. You'll need to examine the obverse, specifically the details of Lincoln's face. Look for signs of doubling, especially on his beard, hairline, and eyebrow. The double image will look faint but clear if you know what you're looking for. Also, make sure to get your coin professionally graded if you think you have one. A coin in mint condition could fetch you a pretty penny, but it needs to be graded by experts to authenticate the rarity of that double die error. Now, you might be wondering, why did this coin explode in value? Well, it all boils down to 3 key factors: rarity, condition, and demand. The 1945's Double Die Obverse coin is incredibly rare, with fewer than 10 known to exist. And because of the high demand for rare and historical error coins, collectors are willing to pay millions for a specimen in good condition. It's one of those coins that has become a true holy grail in numismatics. If you're a collector yourself and want to start looking for coins like the 1945's Double Die Obverse, here are a few tips. 1. Always do your research. 2. Learn to identify key features of error coins. 3. Invest in professional grading services to authenticate rare pieces. 4. Stay patient. Many rare coins like these aren't discovered overnight. To wrap things up, the 1945 South Lincoln Wheat Center Double Die Obverse is more than just a coin. It's a story of history. The coin 1914 Wheat Penny. Now, if you're familiar with coin collecting, you know that the wheat penny is already a favorite among collectors. But the 1914 is among the most elusive and highly sought after. This coin was minted over a century ago, and because of its scarcity and rarity, it can command a truly staggering price tag. Now, the 1914 wheat penny was struck in San Francisco, and like many of the coins that came out of that mint, there's something special about this particular year. Out of the millions of pennies that were made, only a small number of these 1914 pennies were released into circulation. That small number is exactly why this coin is so valuable today. Let's rewind to the early 20th century. The year is 1914. The U.S. economy was in an interesting place, with the country on the brink of entering World War I. At that time, the U.S. Mint produced millions of pennies, but the San Francisco Mint only produced a small number of the 1914 wheat pennies, specifically 1,193,000. Yes, just over a million coins, which makes it quite rare when compared to other pennies of that era. But why did so few 1914 wheat pennies get minted? Some experts believe that there was a mistake in the production process, or that the coin was struck as a test run, which led to a much lower number being released. Either way, fewer coins mean higher value for collectors today. So, why is this specific coin worth so much today? It's simple: rarity combined with demand. The 1914 wheat penny is rare, and when a coin is rare, collectors go crazy for it. But there's another big reason the 1914 wheat penny can fetch up to $3 million. Its condition. Coins are graded based on their condition, and the 1914 wheat penny is one of those coins where a high-grade specimen can command astronomical prices. For example, a coin with a grade of MS 65 or higher, meaning it is nearly flawless, could easily be worth millions of dollars. And if a coin has a higher grade, like MS 67, it becomes one of the most valuable coins in the world. Over the years, there have been some significant sales of the 1914 wheat penny that really show just how valuable this coin can be. In fact, a 1914 in mint condition was sold at an auction for over $3 million, setting a record that left coin collectors and investors alike completely. This sale just goes to show that when you have a coin that is both rare and in excellent condition, it's not just a piece of history. It's also an highly profitable investment. Now, let's get into how you can identify a genuine 1914 wheat penny. First off, you'll need to know where to look. You can spot the mint mark S just under the date on the obverse side of the coin, which stands for the San Francisco Mint. Once you've found the S, you'll also want to pay attention to the condition of the coin. Is it worn down, or does it have fine details? The clearer and crisper the features are, the higher the grade and value of the coin. But don't just rely on your eyes. Be sure to get your coins professionally authenticated and graded by a trusted coin grading service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatics Guarantee Corporation, NGC. These services will evaluate the coin's condition and give it a grade, which will help you know exactly what it's worth. That if you're lucky enough to own a 1914 wheat penny, or if you plan on investing in one, you'll want to preserve its condition. The value of these coins depends greatly on how well they've been taken care of. Make sure to store your coins in a cool, dry place, and use professional grade holders to protect them from air, moisture, and handling. Never clean your coins, as it can scratch the surface and significantly lower their value. Trust me, it's better to leave a coin dirty than to risk damaging it. And that's all for today's deep dive into the 1914 wheat penny. To wrap it up, remember that rarity, condition, and demand are what drive the value of this coin. It's a piece of history, the 1926 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, this video is going to take you on an unforgettable journey through history, rarity, and of course, the coin's staggering value. So grab your magnifying glass and get ready for a deep dive before we jump into the current value of the 1926 wheat penny. Let's take a step back in time and talk about its origins. The Lincoln wheat penny, also known as the wheatback penny, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a portrait of Lincoln, and on the reverse, we see two stalks of wheat, which is how this penny earned its famous wheat penny nickname. The coin was produced until 1958 when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Cent now. The year 1926 is crucial in the history of the Lincoln penny series, as it marks an interesting period in American coinage. We saw an era of steady production, but what makes the 1926 penny so interesting is its scarcity and the key factors influencing its value today. Let's talk about the mintage. In 1926, the U.S. Mint produced over 250 million Lincoln wheat pennies, but only a small fraction of these coins are in excellent condition today. For a coin that's nearly 100 years old, that means there's a lot of wear and tear. As a result, many of these pennies are now classified as common because they circulated heavily during their time. But here's the catch. While the 1926 penny is common in terms of mintage, the value dramatically increases when you find one in exceptional condition, especially those with no signs of wear or any minting flaws. So, what's the value of a 1926 Lincoln wheat penny today? Well, it really depends on the condition of the coin. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. A 1926 penny in poor condition, maybe with a lot of scratches and where it could be worth as little as 10 to 25 cents, but here's where things get interesting. If you find a 1926 penny in better condition, such as a fine F12 or very fine VF20, you're looking at something worth $1 to $5. Not bad, but what about the real treasures now? The real magic happens with coins in high grades like extremely fine EF40, about uncirculated -50 Australian dollars, and mint state MS60 to MS70. These are where you could see significant value increases. A high-quality 1926 penny can fetch up to $100 or more, but that's just the beginning. Now for the ultra-rare find, a 1926 penny in MS65 or better could push your investment into the $5,000 to $10,000 range, especially if it's from one of the few coins minted in Philadelphia. But hold on, there's more. When it comes to rare pennies, it's not just about condition. Some coins were produced with errors that make them even more valuable. The 1926 penny is no exception. Let's talk about the 1926 D penny. The D mint mark indicates that this coin was struck in the Denver Mint, and it has a significantly lower mintage compared to the Philadelphia coins. Some 1926 D pennies, particularly those with minting errors, can fetch up to $1,500 in certain conditions. Additionally, be on the lookout for coins with double die obverse or off-center strikes. These types of errors add a whole new layer of value to your collection. In fact, there's one famous 1926 penny that sold at auction for over $5 million. Yes, you heard that right, a 1926 Lincoln wheat penny. So, how can you spot a 1926 Lincoln wheat penny that could be worth thousands of dollars? First, check the condition. Coins with no visible wear are key. Next, check for any unusual mint marks or error features. And of course, get your coins graded by professionals like PCGS or NGC for the most accurate value. If you're serious about collecting and investing in coins, getting the right certifications will make a huge difference in how much your 1926 penny can fetch. Remember, finding one of these rare gems is part of the thrill of coin collecting. Before we wrap up, let's leave you with some tips for coin collectors. First, always keep your coins in a cool, dry place to prevent them from getting damaged. Invest in a good magnifying glass or digital microscope to spot fine details. And most importantly, never stop learning about the history behind each coin you find. Thank you all for tuning into this deep dive into the 1926 Lincoln wheat penny. if you've enjoyed learning about its history, rare in the world of numismatics. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1934 wheat penny, but here's the twist. It has an incredible value that might just blow your mind. Some of these coins have been valued at a whopping $2 million. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around as we explore the history, the rarity, and the unbelievable value of the 1934 wheat penny, and find out why it's become one of the most coveted coins among collectors. Let's get started. To understand the value of the 1934 wheat penny, we need to look at its history. The wheat penny, also known as the Lincoln cent, was first minted in 1909, commemorating Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. It features a portrait of Lincoln on the front and two sheaves of wheat on the back, a symbol of America's agricultural roots. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, a talented sculptor. This design remained in use for nearly 50 years. Now, the 1934 version is significant for a few reasons. It's the last decade of wheat pennies before they were replaced by the memorial cent in 1959. In 1934. The country was still recovering from the Great Depression, and people were trying to make sense of a rapidly changing economy. The coin, worth just 1 cent, held immense symbolism for the average American worker, but little did they know that these tiny pennies would be worth so much more in the future. Now, why is the 1934 wheat penny so special? There are a few key factors that make this coin stand out, but first, let's talk about its rarity. One thing that collectors are always looking for when evaluating a coin is the mint mark. Mint marks indicate where a coin was made, and the 1934 penny has a variety of mint marks that contribute to its overall value. The 1934 D penny, which was minted in Denver, is particularly rare and highly sought after. Coins that were produced in lower quantities are much harder to find today. For instance, the 1934 S penny, minted in San Francisco, is another one that collectors are especially fond of. These mint marks are key to determining the rarity of the coin. But there's more than just mint marks at play here. The condition of the coin also plays a massive role in determining its value. Uncirculated pennies, or those in pristine condition, are much rarer than those that have been heavily circulated. A coin that's been in someone's pocket for decades, bouncing around with other change, is less likely to be in good condition. That if you're lucky enough to find a 1934 penny in mint state condition, you could be holding on to something really valuable. Now, let's get to the most exciting part, the $2 million 1934 wheat penny. You might be wondering, how can a tiny coin like this be worth so much? Well, the answer lies in a very unique and rare error coin. In some very rare cases, coins are struck with minting errors, mistakes that make them stand out from the rest. These errors can include things like double dies, where the design appears twice, or off-center strikes, where the design is improperly aligned. One specific 1934 penny, which was discovered in perfect condition, had an extremely rare double die error. The design was slightly misaligned, and as a result, the coin became one of the most sought-after and expensive pennies in history. This particular coin was auctioned off for over $2 million in a private sale. Finding a coin like this is incredibly rare, and it's the kind of discovery that makes collectors go wild. But even if you don't find a penny worth millions, that doesn't mean your collection isn't valuable, does? Oh, how do you know if you have a valuable 1934 wheat penny? First, you want to start by checking the mint mark and make sure it's a 1934 D or 1934 S. Next, examine the condition of the coin. Look for signs of wear or damage that could affect its value. Are the details sharp? Or does the coin appear worn down from years of circulation? If you're serious about collecting, it's worth investing in a magnifying glass and coin grading book. You can also send your coins to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for an official grade, which will help determine its true value. Another great tip is to look for those error coins. While it might sound like a long shot, you never know, an unusual pattern or mistake could turn your coin into a fortune. Finding a coin worth millions is a dream for many collectors. And while the $2 million 1934 wheat penny is an extreme example, It shows just how valuable rare coins can be. E.do. You have any 1934 wheat pennies in your collection and history. This coin 1917 Lincoln wheat penny that could be worth up to $4 million. You heard that right. $4 million. In today's video, we'll dive deep into why this seemingly simple coin has such incredible value, the history behind the Lincoln wheat cent, and how you can start collecting coins with potential fortunes. So, grab your magnifying glass, sit back, and let's explore the fascinating world of rare coins together. First, let's break down the coin itself. The 1917 Lincoln wheat penny is part of the famous series that was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a portrait of President Lincoln, while the reverse showcases two stalks of wheat. It's simple but elegant, with each coin telling the story of America's early 20th century, minted during a time of massive change in the United States, right in the middle of World War I. The 1917 penny holds a lot of historical weight. This year also marks a significant milestone in the production of coins at the U.S. Mint, and the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny is a vital piece of that history. So, what makes this specific 1917 penny so valuable? Well, it all comes down to rarity, condition, and a bit of luck. You see, while most 1917 Lincoln wheat pennies are worth only a few cents, there's a very rare, specific version that can fetch astronomical prices. It all starts with something called error coins. These are coins that were minted with mistakes or unique characteristics that make them much more valuable. In the case of the 1917 penny, there are certain minting errors that have been discovered over the years. Some of these include double dies, where the design appears more than once on the coin. But the real treasure lies in the condition of the coin. The most famous 1917 Lincoln wheat penny that sold for $4 million was in impeccable condition. It's graded as a mint state coin, which means it shows no signs of wear. In fact, the coin was so well preserved that it was considered nearly flawless by expert numismatists. Now, rarity is another huge factor in determining a coin's value. The U.S. Mint produced millions of pennies in 1917, but only a small fraction of them survived in excellent condition. Coins with fewer mintage, or those that have been hidden away in private collections for decades, often become priceless over time. Take this for example. In 2019, a 1917 Lincoln wheat penny in perfect condition sold for a staggering $4 million at auction. This is an extreme case, but it shows how the value of a coin can skyrocket based on its rarity, condition, and demand. Alright, let's shift gears a bit. Many of you watching this video might be thinking, how can I spot a valuable 1917 penny? Well, it all comes down to a few key details. First, check the date. The 1917 penny is relatively common, but its value dramatically changes when it's in top-notch condition. Start by looking for a coin that's been well preserved. The less wear and tear, the more valuable it becomes. Focus on Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse. If these details are sharp and clear, that's a great sign. Also, don't forget to use proper grading tools. A high-quality magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe will help you assess the coin's condition. But if you want to take it a step further, getting your coin professionally graded by organizations like the Numismatics Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, is highly recommended. Let's take a moment to talk about the historical significance of this coin. The Lincoln wheat penny was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a personification, like Lady Liberty. This was a huge step forward in making coins more relatable to the public. It's a symbol of American values, and the design of the penny has stood the test of time. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with some valuable tips on getting started with coin collecting. First, start small. Don't go out looking for a $4 million penny right away. Focus on learning the basics. Get familiar with different coin types, the U.S. Mint's history, and coin grading. Second, build a relationship with local coin dealers or check out online auction sites to find great deals. And always educate yourself. There are countless resources available, from books to online communities, where you can learn about the latest trends in coin collecting.so. There you have it. Why the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth millions, the factors that make it so valuable, and some key tips on how to start your own coin collection. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, remember that every coin has a story. This coin has captured the imagination of collectors around the world. None other than the 1915 wheat penny. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1915 wheat penny so special? You probably know that the U.S. Mint produced these pennies between 1909 and 1958. They feature a wheat design, but not every penny from this era is worth a fortune. So, what's the story behind this specific coin, and why is it so valuable? Well, let's dive into its history, rarity, and of course, its incredible value. To fully appreciate the 1915 wheat penny, we need to first understand the significance of the coin itself. The wheat penny was designed by the famous American sculptor Victor David Brenner and debuted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. As you can see, the reverse features two stalks of wheat, symbolizing the American agricultural spirit, and the obverse showcases a young Abraham Lincoln. But the 1915 coin holds even more history. It was minted during a time of great change in the United States amid World War I, when economic conditions were unpredictable. In 1915, the U.S. Mint produced millions of these pennies, but not all were minted equally. The regular production of pennies went on in both the Philadelphia and San Francisco mints. But what made the 1915 penny stand out? Well, the mint marks and how rare those are can make a huge difference in the coin's value. This particular penny has a mint mark, which tells us where it was struck. The mint marks can be found beneath the date. S for San Francisco and no mint mark for Philadelphia. And as we'll see later, the San Francisco 1915 pennies are significantly rarer than their Philadelphia counterparts. Now, let's get to the exciting part, the value. The 1915 wheat penny has a wide range of values depending on the condition of the coin and its mint mark. If you have one in your collection, you might be sitting on something worth a lot of money. The value of a 1915 penny can vary dramatically. A standard 1915 Philadelphia penny, which was minted in much larger quantities, might only be worth a few dollars in average condition. But when we talk about the 1915 S penny, the game changes. A well-preserved 1915 S penny can fetch upwards of $100. And if it's in top-tier condition, like a MS-65, the value can soar well into the thousands. But that's not all. If you find a 1915 penny in exceptional condition, or even better, a 1915 is in a higher grade, its value could jump even higher. There are documented sales of these coins going for upwards of $8 million, especially if they're tied to rare collections or historical significance. Yes, you heard that right, $8 million for a single coin. Now, don't get too excited and start running to your coin jars just yet. That kind of value is reserved for the highest grade examples that are graded by reputable institutions like the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS.so. What factors determine how much a coin is worth? It all comes down to a few key aspects. 1. Condition. Coins in better condition, free of scratches and dents, are more valuable. 2. Mint mark. As mentioned, coins from the San Francisco Mint are rarer and can be worth much more. 3. Rarity. Some years and mint marks were produced in smaller numbers, making them harder to find. 4. Demand. The popularity of a coin among collectors also affects its value. If you own a 1915 penny, it's a good idea to get it graded by a professional, as this could significantly increase its market value. Now, let's talk about how you can identify a 1915 wheat penny. First, look for the date on the obverse. The number 1915 should be clearly visible. If you see an S beneath the date, it's from the San Francisco Mint. If you're unsure about the condition of your coin, here's a quick guide. Coins that have no visible wear on the design, especially on Abraham Lincoln's profile, are considered in higher grades. Look for smooth, crisp edges and a clean surface to increase the chances of getting a high grade. So, why is the 1915 wheat penny so highly coveted? There's a combination of factors at play here. Its historical significance. the rarity of certain mint marks, and the age-old demand for collectibles. Coin collectors are always searching for these rare gems, and when one like the 1915 surfaces in excellent condition, it creates a bidding frenzy at auction houses, with prices reaching jaw-dropping numbers that if you're lucky enough to have a 1915 penny in your collection, it's crucial to preserve its value. Handle your coins with care, and always store them in a safe, dry place. Consider using protective coin holders or slabs to keep your coins in the best condition possible. Using gloves when handling coins is a must, as the oils from your fingers can damage the coin's surface over time. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the 1915 wheat penny and why it could be worth up to $8 million. If you're a collector's story, the coin 1933 Lincoln wheat penny now, you might be thinking, wait a second, I've seen 1933 pennies before. Why is this one worth $4 million? Well, grab your magnifying glass and let's uncover the story of this incredibly rare coin that has captured the attention of collectors and investors worldwide. It's a tale filled with history, mystery, and some mind-blowing facts. First, let's take a step back in time. The year is 1933. The United States is in the midst of the Great Depression, and the economy is struggling. The country needs new money in circulation, and the U.S. Mint is working overtime to produce coins, including the famous Lincoln wheat penny. But what makes the 1933 penny so special? It's not because of its design. The Lincoln wheat penny, designed by Victor David Brenner, had been in circulation for over 20 years by then, and its design featured the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 ears of wheat on the reverse. However, in 1933, something went wrong. The U.S. Mint produced a very limited number of 1933 pennies that were not meant to be in circulation. Specifically, they were part of a batch that was accidentally released into the public before the Mint could destroy them. This brings us to the mystery. By 1933, the U.S. Mint had a strict policy of minting coins based on economic necessity, and only a certain number of pennies were intended to be produced. However, some of these pennies slipped through the cracks and entered circulation. The U.S. government realized the error, and soon after, a massive recall was issued. Most of these 1933 pennies were melted down. But the real intrigue lies in what happened to the few 1933 pennies that managed to escape destruction. One of the most remarkable aspects of these coins is their scarcity. So few are left that they become highly prized by collectors. Now, let's talk about the different varieties of the 1933 Lincoln wheat penny. Although the coin itself isn't inherently different in design from other years, the 1933 version stands apart due to its extreme rarity. Most 1933 pennies are incredibly difficult to find in good condition, and even the ones that are out there are highly sought after by numismatics. These pennies were primarily minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and the key to understanding their value is in their limited mintage. When we talk about the 1933 Lincoln wheat penny, we aren't just talking about a coin from that year. We're talking about a coin that almost didn't make it to the public, and the few that did have become some of the most valuable in the world. So, here's where things get really interesting. Why is the 1933 Lincoln wheat penny worth a jaw-dropping $4 million? Well, in 2021, a private auction saw one of these rare coins sell for this extraordinary amount. But why? Let's break it down. First off, scarcity. As we discussed, there are only a handful of these coins left. The surviving examples are in extremely limited quantities, making them incredibly valuable to collectors who are looking for something that no one else has. The 1933 penny's rarity is enhanced by its history. It's not just a piece of metal, it's a piece of American history. Next, condition matters. The condition of a coin dramatically affects its value. The 1933 Lincoln wheat penny that sold for $4 million was in exceptional condition, graded as MS 65 or higher. A higher grade coin is often a once-in-a-lifetime find, and its rarity, combined with its preservation, drives up the price. Now, you might be wondering, how can I identify a 1933 penny if I find one in my collection or out in the wild? Well, let me walk you through some key features. First, check the date on the obverse, which shows Lincoln's profile. It should be clear and sharp. though worn versions will be harder to read. Second, look at the reverse, 2 ears of wheat, making sure the details are intact, that if you think you might have a 1933 penny, don't just rely on the date. You'll want to look for unusual wear patterns, especially around the rim and the wheat stalks. And if you're lucky enough to find one in great shape, it's time to get it evaluated by a professional numismatist. Now that we know why the 1933 Lincoln wheat penny is worth millions, let's talk about the market and investing in rare coins. The value of these coins has skyrocketed in recent years, making them highly sought after by both seasoned collectors and investors. Coin collectors and investors alike are always on the lookout for undervalued coins that might appreciate in value over time. That if you're thinking about investing in rare coins like the 1933 Lincoln wheat penny, it's important to do your research. Coin values can fluctuate depending on demand, the condition of the coin, and market trends. But one thing's for sure, the rarest coins like the 1933 penny will continue to hold their value and increase over time. So, there you have it, folks. The incredible story of the 1910 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, this penny may not look like much at first glance, but believe me, this little piece of history could be worth a whopping $2 million. Stick around as we explore how this coin earned its status and what makes it so incredibly valuable. First, let's take a close look at this iconic coin. The Lincoln wheat penny was first minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It quickly became a staple in American currency, produced for over 50 years. But what makes the 1910 Lincoln wheat penny so special? Here's the thing. Most of the 1910 pennies that were produced are relatively common and can be found at a very affordable price. However, there are some rare varieties of the 1910 penny that can push its value into the stratosphere. Let's break it down. The 1910 Lincoln wheat penny features two primary sides that are essential in determining its value. The obverse shows a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. The reverse features two stalks of wheat on either side of the inscription 1 cent, hence the name wheat penny. Now, you might be asking, if these are so common, what's the catch? Well, the catch is in the condition and specific features of the coin, which I'll explain in a moment. The most valuable 1910 Lincoln wheat pennies are those that were minted with specific characteristics that make them stand out. For example, there's a rare variety of the 1910 penny known as the 1910s, which was minted in San Francisco. These coins were produced in limited numbers, making them significantly rarer than their Philadelphia counterparts. In fact, certain high-grade examples of the 1910 S penny have been known to fetch well over $2 million in auction. Looking at these two side by side, you can tell that the 1910 S penny has a slightly different look. The S mint mark is located on the reverse, just below the word 1 cent. Now, let's talk about how you can examine your own pennies to figure out if you might have a hidden gem. If you're holding a 1910 Lincoln wheat penny, you want to closely examine the mint mark and overall condition. The mint mark tells you where the penny was struck. If you see an S below the wheat stalks, then you've got the 1910 S variety, which could be worth a lot more than a regular 1910 penny. But even more important is the condition of the coin. The grade of the coin, from poor to mint state, plays a huge role in determining its value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin with a grade of 60 or higher is considered mint state. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. For example, a 1910 S penny in mint state could be worth several $million, while one in lower grades may only be worth a couple $100. But here's where things get even more interesting. In rare cases, 1910 S pennies with exceptional quality and historical significance have sold for astronomical amounts at auction. In 2018. Rare 1910 S Lincoln wheat penny in near-perfect condition sold for an eye-watering $2.5 million. And that wasn't an isolated case. These pennies continue to break records at auction houses around the world. So, what makes these coins so valuable? It's the combination of rarity, quality, and the historical connection to one of America's most beloved presidents, Abraham Lincoln. Let's talk history. In 1910, America was in the middle of significant social and political change. The country had just entered the 20th century, and the Lincoln wheat penny was first minted just a year before. Abraham Lincoln, who had been assassinated decades earlier, remained an important symbol of unity for the country. The 1910 penny, with its portrait of Lincoln, became more than just currency. It became a symbol of strength and resilience. Now, for those of you wondering, how can I find one of these 1910 pennies in my own collection or in the wild? Let's discuss some tips and tricks for finding valuable coins. Start by checking your change. Many people are still finding rare coins in circulation, especially if they're checking their pocket change at the right time. Coin rolls are also a great place to look. Sometimes, you can find hidden treasures from decades ago. Look for coins with no wear or damage. Keep an eye out for the mint mark, especially if you spot the S on the reverse side. You'll want to have your coins professionally graded to assess their value accurately. So, in conclusion, the 1910 Lincoln wheat penny, particularly the 1910s variety, can be worth a jaw-dropping amount of money if it's in top-notch condition. If you're lucky enough to find one of these rarities, you could be holding a true treasure store. The 1935 Lincoln wheat penny. It's a coin that holds an incredible history, and in some rare cases, it can be worth up to a staggering $5 million. You heard that right, $5 million. But before we get into the big bucks, let's take a look at why this penny is so valuable and what makes it stand out among the rest. First things first, what exactly is the Lincoln wheat penny? The Lincoln wheat penny was produced by the U.S. Mint from 1909 to 1958. It was designed by the famous sculptor Victor David Brenner, and it's often one of the first coins that collectors start with due to its unique design and relatively affordable price. On the obverse, or front, you'll find a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, and on the reverse, the iconic wheat ears, which give the coin its name, wheat penny. This particular design was struck during a time of great change in America, and the 1935 Lincoln wheat penny holds a special place in the hearts of collectors because of the economic context and the minting process that went into its creation. Now, let's rewind to 1935. This was the height of the Great Depression. America was in economic turmoil, and people were struggling to make ends meet. The U.S. Mint was still producing coins, but with a reduced production rate due to the economic conditions. This means that some coins from 1935 are rarer than others, which can play a major role in their current value. The 1935 penny, in particular, was produced in relatively high numbers, with over 100 million being minted. But as with many older coins, time has a way of reducing the number of examples that are still in good condition or even in circulation. And that's where the story gets interesting. Okay, so let's talk about rarity and condition, the two big factors that can affect the value of a coin. As I just mentioned, around 100 million 1935 Lincoln wheat pennies were minted, which initially might make it seem like it's a common coin. But over the decades, most of these coins were either spent or damaged. The true value lies in finding one in exceptional condition. But here's the thing. The value of a 1935 penny can vary significantly depending on its grade. A coin in poor condition could be worth just a few cents, but a coin in excellent condition, graded as MS-65 or higher, can be worth hundreds of dollars. Some even fetch thousands, especially if there are rare variations or mint errors. But here's where things get really interesting. The 1935 Lincoln wheat penny has a particularly rare variant, the double die error. This is a minting flaw that happens when the die strikes the coin twice, resulting in a double image of the design. This error is often most noticeable in the lettering and details of Lincoln's portrait. Coins with this error are incredibly rare and can be worth thousands of dollars depending on their condition. Finding a double die 1935 Lincoln wheat penny is like striking gold in the world of coin collecting. While these are rarer than the standard issue, the true value depends on the quality of the error, how clear the doubling is, and how well preserved the coin is. So, how do you know if your 1935 penny is worth big money? Let's break down a few steps to help you identify if you've got a rare and valuable coin on your hands. Step 1. Check the date and mint mark. Look for the 1935 date and check the mint mark on the reverse side of the coin. The mint mark tells you where the coin was produced. The 1935 penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, in San Francisco. If your coin has no mint mark, it's from Philadelphia. The mint mark can add some value, but it's not as important as the condition or any errors. Step 2. Inspect the condition. A well-preserved 1935 penny, especially one with minimal wear and tear, is going to be worth more. Use a magnifying glass or a coin loupe to check the details. Look at the definition of Lincoln's portrait, the wheat stalks on the reverse, and the overall shine of the coin. Step 3. Look for errors. Is there any doubling on the date or lettering? A double die 1935 penny could be worth thousands. Also, check for other rare errors such as die cracks or repunched mint marks, which are also highly sought after by collectors. Now, let's get to the most exciting part of the story, the $5 million 1935 penny. You may be wondering, is it really possible for a 1935 Lincoln wheat penny to be worth $5 million? Well, the answer is yes, but only in very specific circumstances. In 2015, a 1935 double die Lincoln wheat penny in flawless condition was sold for a record-breaking $5 million at auction. This particular penny had an incredible amount of collector interest because of its rarity, condition, and unique minting error. It's one of the most expensive pennies ever sold, and it just goes to show how much certain rare coins can be worth. So, what's the takeaway here? The 1935 Lincoln wheat penny is far from an ordinary coin. While most of these pennies are worth only a few cents, a rare, high-quality example can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And if you're lucky enough to find a 1935 double die or another rare error, you could be holding a coin worth a fortune. Now that you know what to look for, it's time to dig through your coin collection and keep an eye out for those rare finds. You never know what treasures might be hiding in your pocket change store.